Holy City Center Radio. It is episode 397, and I am your host, Christian Sanger. Today is Wednesday, July 30th, 2025. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. So happy to have you here with me. There was no episode on Monday, so no, you didn't miss anything. Sunday was a nice day with my family, but just wasn't feeling great later on in the day, so had to take a little break. I apologize, but don't worry. We've got some great episodes for you this week, including today's, which is an interview with Dolly Pelto. She is the executive director of the ATI Foundation, which is the philanthropic arm of Advanced Technology International. The ATI Foundation was founded in 2024, and its mission is to uplift communities by investing in education, youth programs, and workforce initiatives. Now, hearing that, you might say, I need more specifics. Well, that's exactly why we have the interview. So coming up in a few moments, you'll be able to hear that. And it was a great chat. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. But yes, first, as I said, my parents are in town still, which has been great. We've been, going out to eat here and there or just hanging out around the house. And when I'm busy working, they're off having fun, going to the beach and things like that. Speaking of, thankfully at the beach with the breeze and the water, it's a little cooler. But man, as you all are very well aware, I'm sure, it has been so freaking hot out. It's crazy. I open my front door and it's just like, bam, that wall of humidity and heat just smacks you in the face. So I hope you all have been staying cool, staying hydrated, and being safe with this pretty extreme weather, which, according to some forecasts I'm looking at, is going to be continuing well into this week. So continue to stay safe and cool out there. Stay hydrated. But let's see. I think I've pretty much covered the things that my family and I have been doing. The only thing I haven't mentioned is a Sunday, the time I was going to record Monday's podcast. Thankfully, I was feeling okay in the morning as my parents and I went to the Charleston Museum, which I realized I'd been to several times, but only for like events, after hours events. I remember, they've had all sorts of different things. I think Yelp Charleston had a party there years ago. There has been after the TEDx talks at the music hall, I think there was a post event there. And I also did I moderated a mayoral forum a couple years back. You may remember me talking about that, or maybe you were in attendance. But I'd never been to the museum during business hours and actually taken the time to walk around. It's been all these after hours events where I didn't really walk around the museum. So technically, it was basically my first visit there, which is a shame since I've been here so long. But we enjoyed it. My folks definitely liked it. I enjoyed it. It's a nice mix of different things. There's some permanent exhibits. It's a lot about the history of Charleston, not just the history you think about in textbooks, but it's also about the land and animals and wildlife and things like that. In addition to the Civil War, American Revolution, and those types of things. So there's a lot of different aspects to it. It's very interesting. And then they have exhibits that come and go. They might be there for a month or two and then something new will come in. So they always have something new, even if you've been to the museum and seen some of their, so-called permanent exhibits and things like that. So if you have a chance, it's a lot of fun. It's fairly inexpensive. I think it was $15 for adult admission. Obviously, it'd be a little cheaper for children, as well as I think they have senior discounts and things like that. They also validate parking, so that's a good thing. If you park there, it's one of those you have to text to park. So you text this number, you have to put in your license plate and pick how long and blah, blah, blah. But keep that text after you do it, walk in the museum, and they actually give you a code to validate that parking so you don't end up getting charged for it. So that's pretty great too. So yeah, if you've never been, it's something new to do, especially in this heat. We were looking for something indoors, and that was the perfect thing. It was nice and cold in there with the AC. And again, we had never been, so everything was pretty new and fresh to us. And again, if you've been before, they do change out some exhibits, so there's always something new to see. So that was the one thing we did. Wanted to give them a shout out. They're good people. I've dealt with them over the years in many different ways, and just a Charleston landmark that you should definitely visit if you haven't before. All right, enough of that. Let's get into the reason you are here, which is the main part of the show itself. And today it's an interview, as I mentioned, with Dolly Pelto, Executive Director of the ATI Foundation. She's going to give us all the background on what exactly that organization is, as well as the philanthropic arm and what they do, not just here in Charleston, but around the country. So enjoy the interview, and I'll be back with you afterwards. And joining me now, as promised, is Dolly Pelto, the Executive Director of the ATI Foundation, which is the philanthropic arm of Advanced Technology International. And so excited to have you here, Dolly. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Christian. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. So before we get into everything about the foundation and the actual organization, if you could just let my listeners know a little bit about yourself, whatever you'd like to share, whether it's where you're from, if you're here, if you were born and raised here or not, and anything about your background, just so folks know a little bit more about you.
Sure. So I am a Charleston transplant like many others, but I've been here for 25 years. I was born and raised in Florida,
Okay.
but happy to call Charleston home. I'm really excited to share about the career that I've been able to have and the work that I've done as part of the Charleston community. And it really started for me when I was in college. So serving others is a key aspect of my life. I graduated from one of our federal service academies, the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, and they really drilled into us service, and particularly our school motto, which was acta non verba, so deeds, not words. And so I've always wanted to find ways to give back. And so I've stayed active as a volunteer as I progressed through my career. I actually learned about ATI during my first job out of school, which was at a shipyard down in Mobile, Alabama. Came across ATI, and when I moved to Charleston, I started working for ATI, and I've had a great career there for the last 24 years. ATI has been a leader in developing research and development collaborations for the government. As part of that, we've been able to grow our organization, and we're up to nearly 400 people, and we really want our employees to feel connected to the mission where we're serving our nation, and we also want them to feel connected to serving our community. So we established the foundation to help us do that, and I've had the privilege of leading the foundation over the last year.
Very good. Very cool. And, tell us a little bit about ATI and also the foundation itself. What exactly what exactly does the organization do, as well as the foundation?
So, as I mentioned, we support the federal government through managing research and development collaborations. So that really centers around bringing people together, not only the folks that typically do business with the government, but also those that we call non-traditional. So folks that typically cannot or will not do business with the government. We foster that collaboration amongst those different innovators and bring them together with government customers who are trying to solve problems. And then the other thing ATI does is we bring speed and efficiency to the contracting process, which is oftentimes makes it a challenge to work with the federal government. So we feel like we have developed these core competencies over the last several decades that allows us to bring that to the philanthropic world. And so we established the foundation to continue our work in support of the community here in Charleston and across the nation. And we feel like being able to support collaboration in the philanthropic community as well as contracting efficiency will allow us to deliver better outcomes.
And, people, obviously know about nonprofits, and there's so many out there. So what makes the ATI Foundation, different than other nonprofits that are out there?
So I think one of the things we knew early on, we wanted to focus on improving education and workforce development, but we resisted the urge to create new programming. We recognized that there is already a tremendous amount of work happening in our community, and we do not want to duplicate efforts. We want to amplify what's already working. by, like I said, promoting that collaboration in the community and increasing the willingness to work together to solve challenges. We also want to be simple, right? There's already enough challenges that the community is facing. We don't want the process to work with us to be any harder than it needs to be. So, similar to our government work, we are leveraging our contracting efficiency. We wanted to streamline our grant making process so we can, like I said, create those better and faster outcomes. And if we can get it done in a few days, let's do that. Let's not create complexity where it's not needed.
We're discussing kind of broadly, what the foundation can do. And let's zoom in. Obviously, this is a Charleston podcast. Let's zoom in here to the Holy City. What sort of things does the foundation do to help out the Charleston community?
So, first and foremost, we leverage our people power. I mentioned we have over 400 ATIers on staff, and we encourage them all to volunteer across our community each year. You will find them all over the place, whether it's at the food bank or oyster reefs or you name it. Every employee gets 8 hours of volunteer time off to support efforts in our community. And sometimes we'll even bring nonprofits on site for things like back to school packing parties and different efforts to support the community. The other thing that we do is charitable donations. So we do those across many focus areas, whether it's basic needs or the environment, veteran support. These are not anything that anyone has to apply for. ATI leadership selects a few that are more strategic in nature, but the bulk of that funding actually gets directed by our employees, where they vote on nonprofits annually to donate to. The foundation itself is very focused, like I said, on education and workforce development. So our grant making program is focused in that arena. We're actually in the middle of that process right now, and I can talk a little bit more about that. And then the last thing we do, we found that it's really hard to do the work and talk about doing the work. So we like to spotlight our partners and the work that they're doing through our network and leveraging that in support of their mission.
And yes, you mentioned the grant making process that you're going through and said you could talk about that more. So please go ahead.
Yeah, so we released our first grant proposal request back in May, and we received a tremendous response from the people closest to the problems and the challenges. And we got so many amazing ideas for everything from improving foundational reading and math skills to expanding apprentice and intern programs, creating national campaigns to improve career paths in critical fields. And these things are more than just helping those in need in our community. There's real national security challenges that exist because in some cases we don't have the workforce trained and ready to meet those demands. And so for us to feel part of that solution is what's incredibly rewarding. We really do want to partner with organizations that share our belief that if we remove barriers and build connections, we can unlock potential for individuals to strengthen the workforce pipeline in critical areas, things like manufacturing, shipbuilding, and maritime, which is near and dear to my heart, just to name a few. And so, yeah, we're excited to start making awards in this area. Proposals came in early July. We're hoping to get selection notices out there as early as August.
It sounds like between just the foundation itself, obviously, and what it was created for, and also the fact that employees have time, like you mentioned, to go and volunteer based on your background. You mentioned up at the top of wanting to be of service. This sounds like a really good organization for you to be a part of. Certainly seems like the kind of stuff that you wanted to do.
Absolutely. I have been very blessed in my career, not only with ATI. I actually had a failed attempt at retirement, so I could go and do the volunteering I wanted to do throughout the day. But when ATI asked me to come back and run this, it was an easy yes. I get to follow my passion.
And for people who are listening and would like to support that passion and help out, how can people get involved and support what you're doing with the foundation?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously our website, which is ati-foundation.org, is the easiest place to see it all. And there's sign up link for the newsletter and following us on socials. We know folks are incredibly busy, but we hope that if you plug in, we've also included different volunteer opportunities on the website. So come out and volunteer. You can likely see some ATIers there with you. Um, I love learning about new organizations every day. I have a phone call with someone I didn't know that leads to 10 more phone calls. And anyone is welcome to reach out to me at any time. I'm happy to explore partner opportunities and connect the dots to something that might be even bigger and better in the future.
Great. And I'll have those links in the show notes for anyone who's listening. Just go ahead and you can click on over if you want to learn more. And I'm assuming that website and the socials are also where people can just, learn more about that foundation in general and also ATI, the corporation itself.
Yes, absolutely. I know sometimes going over someone's website can be a challenge. So, again, I'm always happy to have the conversation. It's always easier to explain what we do rather than read about it. And like I said, we really believe there's power in collaboration, and we'd love to hear from like minded organizations. We feel if we band together, we can extend our collective reach and make an even greater impact.
And is there anything that we haven't talked about or I haven't asked you about as it relates to ATI and the foundation that you want people to know or that you would like to talk about?
Not really, other than we're just getting going. We are really excited about what's next, and like I said, we're here to not reinvent the wheel, and we really want to make philanthropy better here in the Charleston area and across the state, and so we're just excited to keep that moving forward.
Very cool. So yeah, as I said, anyone who's listening, the links will be in the show notes so you can go learn more. Obviously, as you mentioned, it might be better to maybe get in contact with you since there's so many different opportunities out there, and you can probably help people figure out what's the best way for them to help. But yeah, obviously, all the information is online for anyone who's interested. And Dolly, thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to me about the ATI Foundation and everything you're doing. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that'll do it for this edition of Holy City Center Radio. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Dolly for joining me today. And thank you to Lindsay Marie Collins, who produces this in every episode of Holy City Center Radio. And also a thank you to Tyler Boone, whose music you hear in each and every show. I'll be back with you with another interview later this week. You don't want to miss it. It'll be on Friday's episode. Until then, though, good night and good luck.